troublemaker, far-right, Islamophobe. What is the real you?
People have pulled knives out of me at Speaker's Corner. If you fight this, you'll end up having a car crash with your family. Leave the country right now. Go to the airport.
I think people are that close to exploding.
We are now in a new modern warfare where we are importing our enemies into our country. We have one chance to make the government understand that we are angry and they need to do something to protect our women and children. It's affecting every corner of this country. If something doesn't give, it's either going to be my daughter, it's going to be your daughter, it's going to be your mother, your brother. I mean, it's not if, it's when. And I see what's coming, Liam. I see it. I see the victims that are going to come from this. The women, the children that are going to die, that are going to get raped because this fucking government just doesn't give a fuck. Something massive needs to happen, and I believe that it's only the English lads that can make that happen. If enough stand up, if enough people do what's needed, I promise you they cannot ignore it.
What was the thing that lit the fuse for you to say enough? For the last year, I've been working with Ryan from Change, and now they're sponsoring our channel so we can keep bringing you these conversations. Change are the #1 mentoring program that teaches you e-commerce step by step where no previous experience is necessary. Whilst working with Change, I've seen life-changing money be made and community members free up more time to spend with their families. A successful business is not built overnight, and you would need to put in the work before reaping the rewards. The more you put in, the more you get out. The community are full of like-minded people, all striving for success and all willing to help each other. Change offer one-on-one training, online courses and group seminars so you get all the support you need to succeed. If you're looking for a new opportunity, get in touch with Ryan via Instagram at RyanJB and he'll take you through all the steps to building your own successful business. Danny.
All right, mate.
I've been better. And you strike me as a man very much on the edge. This is going to be a tricky podcast, I think, for us both, because by the time this goes out, it's going to be in a few days. Today is Sunday morning, and we've just found out that 10 innocent people have been stabbed multiple times on a train, an attempted mass murder. When we leave the studio, we will find out whether it was terror-related or not. I suspect it is. It has to be. I feel your frustration. I've seen your videos online. I feel like you're at boiling point. In fact, I feel like you're at breaking point, which is why I invited you on, because I'm also concerned about the country, where people are heading. And when I say where people are heading, people that respond to atrocities will be heading for jail, because we've got a socialist government that don't like us speaking against their agenda. And I know there's lots more to you, and we cross paths often at demos, but we never get time to sit and have a chat. And there's so much I didn't know about you and that I want to know about you. And I think your story is going to blow a few people's heads off their shoulders. So let's take it right back to the start, like the origins of Danny Tommo. What got you into political activism? What was the thing that lit the fuse for you to say enough?
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things that really happened was my father and my mother bought one of Tommy's books. And prior to Tommy going to Leeds and prior to that situation happening, I always heard his name. I knew about him. Didn't know too much at that time. My father knew a lot more. He was very intrigued by him. Saw him as a freedom fighter. Saw him someone that was putting his head above the water just to say what needed to be said. And then, years later, when what happened in Leeds, I was absolutely devastated for him. Someone that was going to stand up for us, for the people, to show these degenerates of what they are. Simply asking questions out of outside of a court and how you can be dragged, tried, convicted and sent to prison all in one day, to me was just a point where I thought, wow, I mean, if they can do that to him, they can do that to anyone. And I think it was at that point I decided something needed to be done. And then I saw online that they were doing a protest down in Downing Street. And I felt it obligated as an Englishman to go there and to have my say. And that's where it began. When I got there, I very much felt like everyone had the right message, but the delivery of that message wasn't being portrayed. It was carnage down there. You know, there wasn't really any organisation. So I felt like something inside of me told me to take control. So I took a loudspeaker. I started talking about the injustice that had happened to Tommy. I started talking about, you know, if this can happen to him, it can happen to any of us. We need to stand up to this. And people listened. People wanted to see that someone stand up and take charge. And I then made a decision to get everyone to sit down, so they couldn't remove people from Downing Street. So so that was for me, that was the start of my activism. That was in 2018. And the next stage of that, what happened was I went home and I sat there and I felt a burning sensation that wasn't enough and that something else needed to be done. So I took the initiative to start a Facebook events page, which was Free Tommy. And I woke up the next day and it was 2,000 people are coming to an event that I'd organised for Downing Street. Then the end of that day, it was 10,000. Then the next day, it was 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. And I think it got to about 70,000 people. And I thought, oh, okay, this is now taking a serious direction and I need to take it serious. So I started talking to local scaffolders. I wanted to get a stage put up. I wanted to make sure that this was done to the level that it needed to be done. And then I had a very nice phone call from a man that became a very good close friend of mine, and which was Kev Carroll. Kev got on the phone to me, including Tommy's brother as well, and he said, "Who are you?" So that was the first thing. "Who are you and what's going on?" And I said, "Nice to meet you." I said, "I'm just a lad that felt like he could do something for the cause, and I want to, if you give me the opportunity to work with you guys." And then I started working with organisations that wanted to fund the event, which took it to a different level. Then I had, Secret Service from Holland ringing me saying they wanted Geert Wilders to attend. And I thought, I'm sat in my office at this point, started a little business with my mum and dad. Sat in the office and I thought, oh my God, what have I got myself into? And then next day I've got a congressman, secretaries calling me from America saying they want to come. And then I'm putting this back to Kev Carroll and also to Tommy's brother. And then it became what it became. You were there. I mean, you saw what it was. I mean, it became, for me, who I am today. I realised that I was a voice that people were listening to, and I was doing it for the right reasons. I was never motivated by money because there was never any money in it. I was never motivated by becoming famous because all I've had is grief, and my lifestyle has gone downhill. But yeah, so it became massive. I mean, there was 60,000 people at this place. And that was the kickoff. And then throughout 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, I was pretty much the main organiser for the events that Tommy wanted. Majority of the time, he was out inside prison. Some of the times, especially things like outside the Old Bailey, he was there. I just did what I could to make the events better. And I hope that the legacy that I hold with those days, that is exactly what happened. They became really good days, and they became days that people started really waking up. And I know Tommy's pretty grateful for that. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are grateful for that. You said a couple of things that I'm going to touch base on. You clarified that you're not doing it for the fame. And I think the problem with the right-hand side of politics, especially the street activism, I'm always curious as to someone's motive. I certainly want change. I believe you want change. I believe people jump on the bandwagon for clout. We need to be able to differentiate who really want change, who really want peace, harmony, unity, and who's just jumping on it because they want the self-adulation. And I believe that you do it for the right reasons. I've seen you in tears on the stage when Charlie Kirk was mentioned after he was assassinated. I actually managed to catch a great picture of you holding a banner with him, and I saw how much it meant to you.
Yeah.
But you said yourself just then that you was asked, like, who are you? Who is Danny Tommo? So that's what we're going to get into today, because when people first come on the scene, I'm suspicious by default. I thought, is this guy undercover journalist? Is he undercover old Bill?
Because so did Kev
Carroll, who's Tommy Robinson's cousin.
Yeah.
But you know that if you're centre or you're over to the left, you always try and infiltrate the right to make them look bad. It's a game they've played for years. Yeah. So when you see someone new pop up, you have got to have a bit of a steward's inquiry. I mean,
could clarify on that? My even family members of mine were put in the back of Range Rovers and questioned about me, about who I really was and where I came from, to basically make sure that the story I was telling was true, which it obviously is. And even to a point where individuals were turning up invited to, but after asking for it, coming to family weddings, making sure that what I was saying was true. So I've been through that, and I've been through that, people looking at me, and so
for the record, you're not old Bill.
no. I think I've caused so many issues for the old Bill over the years in London and everything else. I think I am probably, the complete opposite as to what they would want.
Well, yeah, and you've also been to jail. Let's cover your past. Let's find out what moulded you. And for me personally, another thing the left like to do is, if you've ever been in trouble with the police, they hold that against you for the rest of your life, and they don't think that you're fit for opinion. Now, for me, coming from working class background, I want somebody steering the ship that's a bit rough and ready, that's been in a little bit of bother, that understands street language, because it's street language that can get us out of this trouble. It's certainly not the people from Eton. They're so far detached from the boots on the ground. So for me, I'm looking for leadership with a bit of muscle. So I'm very thankful for people that have come out the other side, got into some scrapes when they were younger, realised the error of their ways, but they still kept on to that strength and they channeled it in another direction for the betterment of the country and their community. So for better or for worse, good or bad, just give me your upbringing and your past and the troubles that you've been in.
Yeah, I'll be honest, my childhood was incredible. My father and my mother were very loving. I had an incredible childhood. I travelled to many European countries. I had a great childhood. My dad did everything. My dad came from a very, very rough council estate in Coventry. He was dragged up he did what he could, and he went to university at later years and made something of himself. And then he became someone that wanted to travel the world and took us to Germany for a few years for a job that he'd been given. Spent a few years in Germany, tried to learn the language. Unfortunately for my father, he did a contract a contract was made with Dubai nationals for them to come over to Germany. My father and my mother were English teachers, and a contract was signed in Germany. And unfortunately, what happened was that they had a massive office that they rented out for these Dubai nationals, and one of them was the King of Dubai's nephew, and contracts is £1 million contracts. And unfortunately for my father, he walked into a classroom one day and said, it's sticky in here, opened the window, and the Dubai national, who could have related to the king, thought he said he smells. And then they all disappeared very, very quickly because they thought my father had basically insulted them. All the contracts were voided. My father's bank accounts were closed. My father had a contract who said, you can go, I've got a contract, I'm going to get my money. A Dubai national came over to my father and whispered in his ear, if you fight this, you'll end up having a car crash with your family. Don't fight it. So my father made a decision to flee from Germany under the duress of the German authorities who wanted to seize my father's properties. So we were told we were moving to a second house in Spain. My dad knew I had a big mouth, and he knew that I'd end up telling someone that we were moving. So he said, we're just going to move to a new house, going to go and look at this new house in Spain. So we got in the car, and as we got on the motorway, he said, we're not going to Spain, we're going to England, and we're not coming back to Germany. So we ended up doing a great escape out of Germany and came to England. And that's where things started going downhill for me. I was a bit of a tearaway, ended up getting in with the wrong people, buying cars, joyriding, and a situation happened where I was pulled by the police joyriding outside my road. And unfortunately for me, my father and the family drove past, saw it, and my father felt like my presence within the family was going to cause my brother and sister, who are very much younger than me, a lot of pain. So he decided to oust me from the family. Around about 15 or 16 I was. I moved into a friend's house, and that's when I started indulging in criminality, more to the fact of drugs. I was used and abused by gangsters from Manchester, from Liverpool, to basically move drugs around the South Coast. Never up north, just all around the South Coast. I then looked to myself in the mirror and realised that wasn't the life that I wanted to lead. I then tried to get into the army. I managed to get in. I went into phase 1 and phase 2, left in phase 2 due to injury. And that was the end of my army career, which was very sad for me. I then came back. And that's when I started to go back into the life that I only knew, because at that point, my father figure wasn't there. I had no father or mother or anyone I could really turn to when it came to it. My brothers were my mates. And unfortunately for me, I got it wrapped up in a situation where a lot of drugs went missing. A situation happened where we were informed of who it might be. We went to their house and did some very ridiculous stuff, which never should have happened. I'm ashamed of it, and I went to prison for it. And I'm very sorry to those that I've hurt, including my family and everyone. But I turned it around, and I feel like once I found Jesus Christ and I realised that there's a way to live your life, things have got a lot better. So that's the gist of it. There's a lot more to that, but that's sort of the gist of it.
So your conscience kicked in. When you said a lot of ridiculous stuff, was it kidnapping that you went to jail for?
Yeah, it was attempted kidnap. We were attempting to get the guy out of the house to basically take him with us and find out where the drugs were, because we were informed that he was him. Unfortunately for us, the name was right, but it was the wrong person. We did it on the basis of the threat of the violence from the Albanians. I mean, this was, these are people that will chop your heads off, and they will go and do all sorts of things to your family. These are ruthless gangsters, and when you have that laying over your head, you'll do anything to stop that from happening. I'm ashamed of it. I wish it had never happened, and I have apologised. Because I know the people that were involved, and I have apologised, and I know that's probably not enough, but that's all I can do at this point, and just live my life under Jesus Christ and hope that people see me for a different person than I used to be, which is not me.
I think Jesus understands the drug game.
Maybe not, but yeah. But you get my gist. I mean, once you realise what living under Christ actually is, it's not about being a fanatic in Christianity. What it's about is a way of life. It's about doing the rights and not the wrongs. Living your life in the values of what our country was brought up in. I mean, we forget that. The reason we're all good people is not because we've just decided, it's because we lived under those values. We lived under the Christianity, not to harm your neighbour and not to steal and not to kill. And they live with us. And that's why the world is such a bad place, because most people don't live under those values.
Yeah, we're going to touch base on British culture and values and what needs to be restored and what we need a resurgence in down the line. But what moulds a man, I believe, is trauma. It certainly has me. If I hadn't have been through all the traumas that I've been through, I don't think I'll be of any value. I don't think I'll be of any service to the public. It's because I've been to some very dark places that I never chose to go and managed to overcome that. I feel like I've got something to offer people that are in a similar situation. And I feel like, okay, well, my obligation now is to be of service. And I believe you're doing the same thing. But if we can get under the bonnet of your trauma to give people a better understanding, and also let people know that are going through the same thing, they're not alone. Talk me through losing your best friend when you was 18. Yeah,
so like I said to you, my brothers were my friends. I lived at Ben's and Daryl was next door, and it was just us versus the world. And it was for many, many years. We went up against everything together. And I was at home watching Britain's Got Talent, and he arrived at my house intoxicated, under the influence of MDMA, under the influence of alcohol. And when they came in, there was a few of them. They came in and... it became very apparent very quickly that he'd taken too much and that things weren't good. He was trying to walk into the kitchen to go to the bathroom when he's been to my house multiple times. And then I remember going out in the kitchen for a cigarette and hearing screams, and came back in, and his head was back, and we pulled him off the sofa. And everyone was panicking, and I just took control. I tried to give him CPR, and it was just lifeless. And we made the call. They arrived, and they gave him an injection to try and get his heart going again. And yeah, he was gone, man. He was gone. And obviously, feeling like I lost my family because of my actions, rightly so. To then lose the only person that was there was difficult, very difficult. Very difficult. So, and then that's when I became the person that just keeps everything in and doesn't deal with anything. I don't really remember my 20s. Because of everything that went on. So,
when something like that happens, I think you naturally become angry.
Yeah, and against the world. Yeah,
yeah, you do.
Yeah,
you feel like you've been dealt a very dud hand.
Yeah,
and when your world's so small before social media, you sort of think you're the only one that feels that pain. Now that the world's become a lot bigger and in equal measures a lot smaller because of social media, you realise that, yeah, we kind of all go through something horrendous at one stage. which is why that whole hashtag be kind thing really should be implemented for real.
Yeah.
Not just for virtue,
Yeah.
because you never know what someone's going through. And I have seen it in your eyes, which is why I wanted you to come on today, because I'm seeing the videos you're doing, I'm seeing your frustration, your anger, the injustice that Britain's seeing, the state of the country, and I know it's affecting you. So I thought this could be a good opportunity to explain why you feel that way, what's moulded you, and also try and make a little bit of sense of it, because I've seen the eye of the tiger many, many times. I've had it. And nobody wants you to go to jail. No. And I think that a lot of British patriots that really care, that have got things to conserve, I think people are that close to exploding. And I think if we can pull together and make sure that our brothers don't do anything silly, but we also in the same breath pull together, move forward and stand up to this tyranny and this dangerous system that's been purposefully implemented, I believe, I think we stand a chance of winning this, what I believe is a war. I also think we're heading towards a civil war, but that's a totally separate issue. I'm going to come back to another trauma down the line, because I think one is enough at the moment. But you talk about the system and it's broken. Elaborate on that for me, how you view the country and the system.
Well, I see the people of this country, you know, the way that they are, the taxes that they have to pay, the amount of pressure that's on them just to make ends meet. It doesn't have to be like this. I mean, if you look at the society and you look how much money is being floated around and you look how much taxes people pay, for the life of me, I cannot believe that the amount that we pay in a collective pot cannot in somehow be decreased. So that's number one. Number two is the treatment of our own people. The indigenous people of England, the ones that have had the history here for thousands of years, are at the bottom of the barrel at the moment. We're being treated like we are nothing, that this is not our country. We don't have a say in what happens. I feel like the justice system is allowing paedophiles, majority white paedophiles that groom children online, to go free. The fact that you can go to prison for a tweet, but then if you download or make indecent images of children, you can walk out of the courtroom is crazy to me. And also that the fact that we could easily deal with a lot of these problems and we could really have an iron fist with it. And we don't. So when I look at that side of it as well, it's broken. When we look at the young generation that feel like they need to become little gangsters and hoods up and masked up and, you know, carry knives because they think it's the way to be, it's a sad state of affair. And the more time that goes on and I see it, I don't just worry for my own children. I worry that we are going to produce generations of adults that are just not going to be able to cope with life. The amount of people that talk about having anxiety and I don't doubt some people do, but the use of this word and mental health, I mean, you know, just to not go to work because you got a bit of anxiety. I mean, think of the men of England, you know, even just 50 years ago. I mean, you know, the toughness of what you had to do to get by to be a working class man. I mean, the regulations and the safeties that are put in place with my industry, the roofing industry now, you've got to be very careful. But back then they were taking serious risks to bring the bread back to the house. And I just feel like we're in a position now where our whole country there's two sides of it. You've got the people who believe what is really going on and they understand it. And then you have the elites who just don't listen, don't care, and actually I don't think they actually even see it. I don't think they necessarily are ignoring it. I just don't think they actually see it. They don't live in the places that we live. They don't associate in the places that we associate. And for that reason alone, they never see the things that we're talking about. And when you have these middle class lefties that are, you know, slandering anything that we say, you think, hold on a minute, you live in a tiny little village in the middle of nowhere, you've been brought up, you've been in university. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the inner cities. We're talking about the ones that are really struggling. You know, the father figures, you know, is a massive part of keeping a young kid, and you're producing kids that are just going to carry on in life thinking that smoking weed and having knives and being gangsters is the way forward. And I only say that because I see so much of it. If I only saw a bit of it, and I'd say, wow, there's loads of kids that don't do that, but they're all trying to be it. They're all trying to do this face thing. They're all trying to be this thing, and we've lost. And I do believe a lot of it is because we've lost Christianity within society, because parents that believed in Christianity, believed in the Lord, used to bring that down into their children and make their children behave in a way that reflected them. And because of that, life was good. And now we've lost that. It's been drawn out of society, out of schools, out of government. I mean, you just got to look at government at the moment. I mean, who the Mayor of London is, who our Home Secretary is, and you look at all the mayors around, things, they don't want things to improve. When you have someone that is aligned with a certain ideology that only really cares about their own ideology, why would they then have an influence in bringing back a faith that is so important to us when they don't align with it? So everything is out of touch, everything is out of balance, and that's a problem.
Yeah, well, I concur with everything you've said. And it's funny, went off thinking about, some of the parenting that I've seen recently where kind of like the tail's wagging the dog, parents are too scared to enforce rules and boundaries because they're too scared of being disliked by their own children. And I think raising children, what you're doing is you're trying to raise an adult, you're preparing them for the real world. Absolutely. And, giving in, letting them decide what they eat, what they wear, when they go to bed, what they watch. It's insane. We have to bring back some kind of hierarchy in the home and tough love, from back in the day. All of my mates that brought up through a tough love family system, they all do very, very well now. Absolutely. And I feel like this whole social media, putting an iPad in front of your face is kind of a social experiment. Like, what's going to happen to their brain down the line? Yeah. They think they've got social anxiety now. It's like, well, you wait until you try and have a conversation with a human being once you've had 15 years of iPad in your face. Yeah. So that's a very interesting subject. And everything you said there, to me, seems like a very reasonable, balanced, wholesome man with a good opinion that's kind of got his shit together. But there's a very different public opinion to you from some people. You get called a troublemaker, far right, misfit, a danger to some, Islamophobe. How do you deal with those slurs? Like, how do you push back against that? And what is the real you?
So the difference between myself and some others is that I don't care. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they think. And I don't care what they publish. What I care about is my kids. I care about my daughter being able to walk down Brighton Beach without being taken onto the beach by 3 migrants and raped. I'm interested in making sure my daughter can walk to school without being sexually assaulted in places like Epping. And I'm also want my kids to be able to get on a train and not be stabbed. So when these media outlets, which there's been many, and these lefties and some on the far right, the real Nazi far right, the ones that just want England white as white and don't want anyone else, they also are coming for me quite heavily at the moment. I don't care, because the problem is with people is your perception of someone is based on how they believe you are, and you can never change that. I'm never going to be able to change their perception of me. So even my advice to people that do social media, if you can just get to a point where you're doing it for the right reasons, you're doing it because you care about this country, you're doing it because you see your fellow Englishmen and women and children going through such a seriously difficult time at the moment. If you just focus on that, excuse my French, but fuck what they say, fuck what they do, and just crack on. Because I know from what I do that those that are behind the scenes, the silent majority, they're the ones that will stand with me. They're the ones that will stand with Tommy. They're the ones that will stand with you, Liam, and they were the ones that are important. The other ones will never change their view. They are irrelevant. But I can't say that it hasn't affected me in the past. I've learned in recent years to deal with it that way. Before, there's been serious allegations and slander made against me, which anyone that knows me knows that I would never do anything of what they're saying. I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to give any airtime to it. I know who I am. People that know me know who I am, and that's what's important for me. So yeah, when people used to say things that used to get to me, I got to a point where I was, until I was living with Kev Carroll in his flat. Before that, I never used to get invited. Honestly, never used to get invited to the after drinks because I think you lot didn't really know who I was, and that's fine because reality of it is if someone turned up now and it was the same, I'd probably be exactly the same. So I've got no badness about it, but I feel like I was doing a lot and I felt like I was very alone with it. But now I realise it's not about you, it's not about anyone, it's about my kids, it's about this country. And I unfortunately have a vision. I've always known I'm a bit different, even from when I was a kid. Something always told me, I don't know why, but I just felt different. And then I look at it now and I realise that I see 5-10 years ahead. People think, oh, what are you going to do? You're going to get people arrested. No, I'm not going to get anyone arrested. I'm not here. I'm not saying these things to get people to come out, be idiots and get arrested. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is something that we've never done before and needs to happen. So, yeah, I'm going off a little bit here, but it's important that we understand that when it comes to those that criticise you, those that want to paint you as a certain picture, the majority don't believe that. The majority don't see us like that. So why would we give them any airtime?
It's a difficult situation for you because you was parachuted into the Tommy Robinson circle, and we know that he's portrayed by the mainstream media as being the boogeyman. Now, thanks to Elon Musk, people know that he's not the boogeyman. He's the good man.
He is.
I mean, every political leader in the West can see it, other than our own, but we know that our own hate our own people. Yeah. They're full-blown communists, and they're part of the New World Order, part of the WEF. Like, they're globalists. They don't like the likes of you and me, and they don't like the likes of little you and me talking against them because we speak more sense than them. And slowly but surely, I am feeling that shift. But what I sympathise with you is the attacks you come under from the mainstream media. You had a head-to-head with Ross Kemp, who used to play Grant Mitchell in EastEnders. I sometimes get called him. It's like, that's old. But you held your own with him very, very well. And he's a seasoned pro. He's a good journalist. He goes to
He tried.
He did try. And I thought you dealt with him very well. So you've got the likes of Ross Kemp coming after you, the mainstream media. There's a load of hit pieces. And I mean, I'll ask you the obvious question for the sake of asking it. Do you think you've been misrepresented by the mainstream media?
No, I was that person. Unfortunately, I was. I was a horrible person because I indulged in drug dealing. I indulged in the things that I did. But I'm not that person now. I have come from a very dark place. And I feel like I am now going through the light. And yeah, so what they say is true from when I was, but they're portraying me as that now, which I'm not. So it's different.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant. They will always, I mean, your history where you was a rogue could stem before you was 18, but they'll still use that against you in the mainstream in your 50s.
Yeah, of course.
Blimey, I've become 2, 3, 4 different people since then.
Yeah.
You know, my horizons keep broadening and broadening and broadening. I become more forgiving, more loving. I look inwards more, but you still try and drag me back to you want me to be that person. They want you to implode.
It's all they have.
They're nasty.
Yeah, isn't it?
They're very nasty. I want to talk to you about policing and protests and what you've seen there.
Yeah.
But just so people get an understanding of why you're passionate about things, why you've got fire in your belly, and why I think you have become a natural leader. Your father put you to the side because you were giving the family a bad name, in short.
Yeah. And
you lost your father to suicide.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that? Did you reconcile before he passed?
No. So, fucking hell. Yeah. So, my dad, I disappointed him. He tried everything. He threw money at my education. He threw money at travelling. He threw everything he could to make me be the person that he wanted me to be. And I wasn't. And then leading up the last few years before he passed, he was proud of me for what I did with Tommy. I know that for a fact, but I just wish he would have held on a little bit longer to see what I did with the business. Because I just wanted to show him that I'm not that person. And when I found out that he hung himself, first thing I thought about is that I hadn't spoken to him for a while. And at that point I didn't have a business, and I knew what was coming from him going. But my father was a very strong man. Unfortunately, the drugs that they gave him because he was depressed, which are banned in America because they make you have suicidal thoughts. Prozac, that's the name. He told the doctor that he wasn't drinking. And my dad was alone in France. That's where he lived. In France, he was a traveller, loved to travel, loved to live in different places. And he was under the impression that he was preventing the family, as in my mum, to come back to the UK. My mum wanted to come back. My sister was about to have a baby. He couldn't deal with England, how it was. He was too angry. about what it had become. And I think that's where I got it from. And he looked at it and he saw the downfall of England. And he knew that he couldn't be part of that because, like me, he just couldn't accept it. So rather than dealing with it, he took himself out so that my mum could come back and she didn't have the worry of, well, she did have the worry, but yeah, it was a really, really bad situation, but I feel like I've stepped up. Money is not an issue for us now, for the whole family. I give all the family what they need, and I hope you'd be proud of me for that. Yeah, and I just wish I could have said goodbye properly, and I wish he'd have seen me for what I am today, because I know he would be proud of what I've become, of rather what I was. So, difficult, very difficult.
I can only imagine. But if you strongly believe in your faith now, then you'll know that he is watching you. Yeah. And he is proud of you.
I have him on my arm as so the only one that was with him when he left was the German Shepherd.
Man's best friend.
Sat at the bottom of the stairs. Oh, shit. And he wouldn't let anyone in the house. The police couldn't get in. The dog was his body. And he's never been a violent dog. He's never been a vicious dog, and he just wouldn't let anyone in for 3 hours. They had to do something to get him to move away from the body. And yeah, so I got him here looking up as he walks up to the heaven's gates. And he's got Jesus looking up to him with the dog who was by his side. But yeah, the dog's now with me. The dog is my channel to him, because I feel like he was the last one with him. So, yeah, hard, man.
We can take a breather now if you want, or we can continue.
No, we're good.
Okay, because I know it's not easy when you go back to a place of darkness. I've had it before when I've been interviewed, and I've had to say, if we take one more step in that dark direction, I don't think I'm going to be able to control myself, and it's going to be over. Otherwise, unless you want to record me crying for half an hour, so yeah. I'm happy.
No, I'm good. I just I can't. That's why I don't really think. I've taught myself. And they say you put everything in the back of your head, and only when you talk about it does it come out. And I don't really talk about anything. I don't really discuss it anyway, because this is what happens. I just can't deal with the emotions, just because I'm so sad.
Part of the reason I started this, mate, because I know the importance of conversation. Because I've had things in the past. It was weird. Not that I'm spinning it back to me, but I'm hoping I can bring you some comfort, or anybody listening. Number of tragic events took place in my life, and I was always very open, and I spoke about it. And if I was angry, I'd show the anger, and if I was upset, I'd cry like a baby. Yeah. And I was quite comfortable doing that because I realised it helped soothe me. And then I went through a stage where I didn't do that. For some reason, I changed. I can't put my finger on it, but I bottled stuff up. And it changed me as a person. I become a nervous person. I become a very angry person. I wasn't me anymore. I lost my spark and my sense of humour, and I had to dig deep and do some self-reflection. And I realised, you're suppressing your own natural emotions. You have to speak. And then I went back full circle to speaking out loud, sort of going even further. No matter how I feel, I'm going to tell you. Yeah. And so I know the importance of speaking, because it makes you feel a hell of a lot lighter. You can make better sense of things, and you realise you're not alone. So and I'm glad you're sharing this with me, because it makes everything I've done worthwhile. Because if I can do a little something that will help, I sort of sound like a Jehovah's Witness now. Am I doing it for you, or am I doing it for me? But either way, I think between us, we're doing a good thing. Yeah. And my absolute condolences, because I didn't know until yesterday about your dad when I was sort of doing my research. Yeah. And my heart sank, and I knew this would be a difficult part of the interview. But let's move into something where you've channeled your aggression. Protests, policing. Yeah. You've been arrested on multiple occasions. Yeah. Talk to me about some of those arrests. I've seen you. Well, I've seen you attacked, and then I've seen you lay hands on people. Like in response.
So I've never been convicted for any assault. Obviously from the previous stuff from years ago, but in recent years, because I can control myself until I then need to react, because it's self-defense, and I put myself into multiple situations. Probably probably not smartly, but spaces like Speaker's Corner. I was always been surrounded by 20, 30 Muslim men all trying to tell me that Christianity is this and Christianity is that. People have pulled knives out at me at Speaker's Corner, you know, and it's always the case at Speaker's Corner that I was the one who was removed. I would never want to leave, and they would always remove me and say, "You need to go, mate." I'm like, "Why do I need to go? You should be telling it anyway." So that was the start of that. Because at the demos you don't really get that too much because everyone there's for us. But then it came to a point where there was a couple of occasions where we were doing demos outside the BBC, and the police were marching Antifa. Very, very close to women and children. We knew what they were about. So there's been times where I've had to just get on the mic and say, right, 200-300 lads, let's go, walking through the streets of London. Not to attack anyone, I made it very, very clear. It was to stop them from advancing near women and children. That always sticks in my mind because, the police didn't like that, but unfortunately they weren't protecting them, so we had to. There's been occasions at Buckingham Palace where I was walking around interviewing people, asking them why because Trump's visit, I was asking them why do they feel that Trump's racist. None of them could answer it. They all just held placards saying Trump's racist. Well, why is he racist? Well, this, you know. And then I had the head of Antifa, who is a very known character. I don't know his name, can't remember his name, but I stood behind him. I made a little joke saying, you know, he didn't know I was there, and then he faced me, and then he obviously instructed someone to come for me. They had a stick, and they were coming, and one guy barged into me quite heavily. Everyone's probably seen it. I said, "Excuse me, mate, you've just really barged into me. And then this figure from a distance with a hood up with a stick came running through the crowd, advancing quite quickly, saying, "What are you going to do about it?" And I instantly just cracked him because it was self-defense. I was wrestled to the ground. I was put in a police cell. Police came in, looked at me, winked at me pretty much and said, "Go on, off you go," because they knew. Then you've got places like Trafalgar Square where I was there to look at why Palestinian Action were allowing. They were bussing in OAPs, old age pensioners, to sit down, to write down that their support for this banned organisation, to then be arrested, while all those that actually are there on a day-to-day in the streets were on the sidelines. So all the Muslim men and all the Muslim women and all the lefties were all stood on the sideline, watching them all be arrested and going, "Amazing, amazing." You think, hold on a minute. Why are you not sat down there? You know, why are you brainwashing our OAPs to believe that they have a duty of care to sit down and be arrested? Where now that if they get convicted, they won't be able to travel, they won't be able to move around the world freely. They'll have a conviction for this. You know, it was crazy to me. So when I walked over to this area and I saw a huge group of Muslims praying, I first started reading off a prayer in front of them because I felt like it was necessary. And then when they finished, I said to them, "Okay, now you've finished that. Now go and stand with your people. Now go and stand with those that you've made." And then I turned around and a Muslim man flung my phone out my hand. You see the phone fly down, and then I'm standing there. I'm still remaining very calm, very wary, and very understanding that the cameras are around. And they're going, "Go on, what are you going to do, you piece of shit? What are you going to do?" And I thought, hold on a minute. And then they wouldn't let me move. And then I just turned into what I needed to be for that situation, which was a very aggressive, a very stand your ground Englishman. And I did it very clearly. And the video is widely available to see that. And I could have taken a couple of them out because of the way that they were trying to attack me and kicking me and everything, but I kept my cool. So I try and keep my cool, especially on the 13th of September when we were in London. You probably didn't know, but there was a huge commotion going on behind the stage. And I went there and I looked at it, and all I could see was what the police and the left have realised is that the pure love for the country that was happening around the stage, no one was causing trouble, no one was being aggressive, no one was doing anything to show any aggression to anyone. They realised they had to do something to get the pictures. So what they did is they funneled people in to the back of the stage, then kettled them in so they now feel trapped and not letting them move at all. So then the men there were like, "Well, why have you brought us here? Why are we here?" And then what they started doing is I actually myself visually saw the police officer with his baton start pushing people for no reason. They literally just started walking towards them and pushing them, "Go back." I said, "Why are you telling them to go back for? There's nowhere to go. What are you doing this for?" And then I saw this guy with a big gash, and then I realised this is the situation where they're trying to get the pictures. So what I did is I got up and I basically tried to calm the situation down. There's a video of me, you can see it. I'm going, "Look, calm down, everyone calm down." And they weren't calming down. So I just jumped straight in the middle of it, got between the police and the patriots, and I just said, stop, stop. And it calmed it down. And I realised that these police officers had been instructed to do whatever they needed, probably under Khan's instruction, to do whatever you needed to get the pictures, because this is too good. That's too good. That's showing the country that we're coming back, that we're going to take our country back, and then we're going to use these lot. So yeah, so all through situations throughout my activism and throughout doing the events, it's been carnage. I mean, I've caused carnage for the police since 2018, and I would do it all again because they're all for the right reasons. You know, we don't go to London with the intention to piss the police off.
And there was me thinking you were old Bill.
So the intention for them clearly is that 9 times out of 10, the reason why things happen is because the police antagonise those that are there to do something to get the pictures. A clear one of that is when I made a call after the 3 girls had been murdered in Southport, and the protests were happening around the country. I put a call out, and I put a call out to go down Downing Street, and we got there, and there was, you know, I don't know, probably a couple of thousand lads. Everyone was very angry. You know, I was trying to keep the peace. You're seeing me walking over, trying to keep the peace with everyone. And it became very clear very quickly that the police were becoming very heavy-handed for no reason. And there's a lot of evidence to support that, that they were just literally attacking people to get them to attack them back, to then arrest them and say, look, they've attacked the police. So it was all going on. It was heightened. Everything was going on. Now the police were starting to be heavy-handed, and I'm stood there thinking, oh my God, what is going on? I've got a couple of lads that come over to me going, look, Dan, you're the main organiser for this. If you get nicked, you're going to get slapped with conditions. We can't have someone that's at your level being arrested and then probably not allowed on social media, probably not allowed to organise again. You're going to have to leave. And I didn't want to leave. I did not want to leave, but I was coached and told that if this is going to carry on with the protest, you need to leave right now. So I ended up leaving, and I got some stick for that. And I wish I'd never left. But at that point, it made no sense just for the sake of it to get nicked. Because I would never have attacked the police, but they were pointing, and they were clear that if they can take this guy out, they can make an example of me, and I'm the one that put the call out. So in my mind, when I left that day, I had a phone call from someone and a lawyer on the phone saying, leave the country right now, go to the airport. I was camping at the time. So this is a couple of days later. I'm camping with the kids, and I get the phone call, leave. I said, what do you mean? Listen, you need to leave. You're looking at 5'10". Definitely. I thought, why? But they don't care. At the minute, they're throwing people in jail for nothing. You're going to get a serious bird. So my PTSD of being in prison, fighting in prison, fucking all the madness in prison, I'm thinking, they're going to kill me. If I go in prison, I'm not going to be able to go on the sex offenders, whatever the fuck it's called.
Vulnerable prisoners, the VPs.
Yeah, I'm never going to be able to go on that. I'm going to have to stay on in Maine. And I thought, they're going to kill me. So I did. I left. I got some family members to come over and take over from me from the camping, so they didn't have to leave. I got on a plane that afternoon straight to a country, and I then sat in a hotel room alone, very scared about what was about to happen. I was convinced that I was about to be arrested if I ever went back. And it was a dark hole, because I thought, I'd already been away from my children. At that point, I had 2. I'd been away from them for just over a year. They had no visits to the prison, no communication with my kids at all when I was in prison. So it broke me as a person. So when people said, you just disappeared, how dare you disappear? I thought, you fucker, you have no idea what I went through, because I thought I was about to get a massive sentence. And to be honest, I'm very surprised I didn't get a knock on the door, to be honest. And when I look at it, I think since 2018, I haven't had a knock on the door. And I think they think that they could make something out of me if they do it like they did with Tommy. The more they went for him, the bigger he got. So I think that potentially that could be why. But yeah, and that was recent. But then when we go to what's happening now, I mean, the videos that I'm doing, let me be very, very clear that I have prepared myself and my family that I may be arrested and that I might go to prison. But the reason I sat them down and I said, the reason why I'm saying these things, and it may not come across, I'm a hothead. I'm not media trained. I'm not doing this because I want to become the next thing. I'm doing this because if something doesn't give, it's either going to be my daughter, it's going to be your daughter, it's going to be your mother, your brother. I mean, it's not if, it's when. It's not maybe, it's when. So when I sat them down over the last couple of days, and I said, listen, the heart I have inside of me is the same heart that I believe my grandfather had when he stormed the beaches of Normandy in June 6, 1944, the same heart that he had to get off that landing craft, to run onto that beach and run up an enemy fire. We are now in a new modern warfare where we are importing our enemies into our country. We're not just doing that. We're then placing them in all different areas of England, be it villages, be it towns, when realistically all these crimes that are now happening normally are only to do with big cities. You don't really hear stabbings and sexual assaults and big things in villages. You don't. But now we're at a point where it's affecting every corner of this country. And I feel like something needs to give. What I'm not doing is trying to entice people to come onto the street, become violent, get nicked, go to prison and sit there at the end of the week going, yeah, that was good, wasn't it? That's the last thing we should do. I have some ideas that have never been done before, that are bold, that are big. I'm not going to tell you what they are because that would be stupid for me to say, but this is not about getting people arrested. This is about the English lads, the lads in this country realising that when it comes to what we're doing and the situation we're in now, the women and children need to step aside and the men need to realise we have one chance to make the government understand that we are angry and they need to do something to protect our women and children. Because at the moment, there is no effort at all by anyone to understand the situation that we're in and safeguard us from that. Be it flooding the streets of London with knife crime with police. They're not doing that. They're literally just not doing it. There's been this is a statistic. You can go on GB News and you can find this. It's 100,000 migrant crimes in the last 3 years. Murder, gang rape, stealing, coercive behaviour towards women, following women. This is an epidemic. This is and these people are living around the corner from all of us, and it's only going to get worse. And now they're putting them into army barracks. These men that are living in these barracks were in Sudan with AK-47s, 500 rounds of ammunition in front of them, zombie knives, shooting, and now they're sat in an army barracks in England. So what happened? No matter what comes out about last night. No matter what comes out of if it's terror related or not, this is still terror. This doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's an ideology-based terror or if it's not. The terror that's going through the country right now is women are not going out. Women are not walking their dogs. Women are not going, taking their children. I heard this last night. I'm going to have to say this because my mum, I didn't even know this happened. And I only found out last night. My mum lives in a very small village. Her best friend lives up the road. She took her granddaughter to the park. She sat in the park and then two men, obviously, they were speaking a different language. They're not English. They sat down in the park and they just stared at her granddaughter, who's 7 years old, and they wouldn't take her eyes off her. To a point where my mum's friend then went, I'm not going to say her name, but she went, come here, right, we're going to have a little game now. We're going to run to the fence as quick as we can. And I thought, when you think it's not happening to you, that's literally around the corner. And then as they left the park, the men stood up and just watched them walk down the road. Now, be it they were looking at it, you can just tell. When you look at certain men, no normal man stares at a young 7-year-old girl like that and continues to stare at them. And as they leave, there's something in it. And what we're going to do, hope that it's not, wait till it's not to be. Something needs to give. So we're in a position now where I'm not calling for people to commit violence and get arrested and go to prison. That makes no sense. Being away from your family, they're going to be on their own. Women and children are going to be without fathers. No, that's the wrong thing. But we need to think outside the box. Something big needs to happen. Something massive needs to happen. And I believe that it's only the English lads that can make that happen.
Yeah, you touch base on you not being media trained and you're well aware that there's a chance you could go to jail if you say the wrong thing. And we know that Keir Starmer quite enjoys doing that. So it is important because I believe everyone should now become their own activist. Everyone's got a phone. Everyone's got a social media account. 99.9% of the people I speak to are extremely concerned, worried, scared. They're living in fear. If you sit there and say nothing will changes. Nothing changes unless nothing changes. So be your own political activist, and you don't need to have a massive following. You haven't got to be a celebrity. And also celebrities that aren't speaking out. 5 years' time, you'll look back and you'll think, shit, I've got blood on my hands. I was in a great position to say something to change the minds of the naive, and I didn't. I wanted to protect my paycheck. Fucking shame on you.
Shame on you.
But there's a fine line between free speech and incitement, and
Absolutely.
I think everyone, please just take this on board. Look back at Southport. People got sent to jail for tweets and even just disagreeing with the police or standing too close, saying, I don't feel safe for my grandchildren.
Yeah.
Then they consequently went to jail and committed suicide.
Yeah.
Before you put your face to camera or before you write a tweet, like we've all got decent brain cells, like you can even use Chat GPT if you need to.
Yeah.
Don't do or say anything that could incite violence, which will lead you to jail.
Yeah.
Get your point across, but don't get yourself in trouble.
This
because
only-
we're no good in jail. We can't make changes in jail.
And it doesn't work. But the only way this works, and the only way that it will get called, everyone has to be on the same hymn sheet.
We've got to rise at once.
You cannot have just 5,000 people doing it. You can't have 10,000. If people want change, imagine if 5 million of English men stood up.
Well, here we go. Here's a thought. Was it 17.6 million people voted for Brexit?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So the people that voted for Brexit, they didn't want open borders. They didn't want illegal migration. That's a lot of silent people at the moment.
Massive.
If every single one of those people all at once stood up and said no more, what, is the boss going to sack every single one of you? All the actors that are in my DMs? Are all the producers and directors going to say, well, we can't cast you anymore? It's the whole fucking cast that don't want illegal migrant men in. If you had the government's ear for 5 minutes and they said, Danny, okay, I'm listening, what would you say to them to change the public perception, or what would you encourage them to do to make us feel safer?
Move out of the way, let someone else come in. But what I would say, number one is all the migrants need to be removed from the hotels. We have a lot of green land in this country. Build very quickly. I know people that could build very quickly. Detention centres, put a massive big fence around it. Get some massive tents that we can use. I mean, you did it for the, what's the hospital, the Nightingale Hospital, COVID, they did it like that. Mm-hmm. Take all the migrants out of the hotels, put them into detention centres, and basically funnel them straight into the nearest military airports. Do not use any commercial planes. Use all military airports. Force the Taliban to take their people. We've forgotten who we are. We've forgotten what we've achieved. We've forgotten that we took over the world. It may be not right in some cases and whatever, but we've forgotten where we come from. And if I was sat with the government, I would say, you need to remove all of those men out of the communities. That's number one. Number two is you need to bring Christianity back into this country, because of that, I genuinely, the link between it is massive. Thirdly is knife crime. If you are caught with a knife, you get 3 years. No, do not pass go. If you go on the street, let me press conference. From today, if you are caught with a bladed article on you, be it for self-defense, be it for murder, be it whatever you want to use it for, you are going to prison straight away. Within a couple of weeks, people would not carry knives. Stop and search. Flood London with the police. Bring them from wherever you need to do. Flood the main areas. Stop and search every single person that you want to. If someone stopped me and said, we're only stopping you because we're just checking people haven't got knives, I'd go, mate, crack on, do it. Anyone that doesn't want to be searched, I don't care if you think you're being targeted. When we look at the demographics of who's committing crimes on crimes in London, there is a large percentage that it is the black community. So when the black community say, well, we're being, targeted, stop and say, well, no, listen, go and have a chat with the youngsters then, because the youngsters are all killing each other. Like it's a fact. And I know there's a lot of black community leaders at the moment doing a lot of really good work. I mean, I've seen it on Instagram. They're trying their hardest, but they haven't got the backing of the government. The black community leaders need the backing of the government. They need the backing of the police to make this work, and they haven't got it. So they're literally just pissing in the wind. So those sort of things need to happen. It now is time for drastic measures. Dominic from Poland is an inspiration for me. Anyone doesn't know, he's the politician that we've both met, and he is someone that has a zero tolerance to everything in terms of them coming in. them being able to stay, being anything. And that's why 0 terror attacks, 0 migrant rapes, 0 problems in the community. And the other thing that Poland has is Christianity. And if you look at videos of their cities on a Saturday afternoon, and then you look at our cities on a Saturday afternoon, and you try and tell me that there hasn't been this collective effort for a demographic change, we're losing everything. And the government are part of it. Keir Starmer is a communist. He stood as a spy years ago. I mean, we're not dealing with people that want to change. We're dealing with individuals that want what's happening. They're socialists. They want people to rely on the government. They want all of this carnage. It gives them power. And that's why it's very important that whatever we do, and we are going to do something, it's important that we don't do it without thinking and using intelligence, because they will just come for us. They will just put you in prison. But if enough stand up, if enough people do what's needed, I promise you they cannot ignore it. And it doesn't need to be violent. But yeah, the government, those sort of things, it has to be put in place now. Drastic measures. It's time for talking. I'm fed up of hearing politician after politician, including some on the right, just talking and talking and talking and talking. Even the police chiefs, everyone's just having a good chat. It's time for chatting is over. When we leave this studio today, be it terrorism or not, I believe, in my mind, in my heart, that when I walk out of here today and we find out it doesn't change for me if it's just some lunatic that's decided to kill people, if it's Islamic terrorism, it's now time for the English lads to make a stand, 150%.
Well, at this stage of the conversation, I feel like you're less on the edge than you were at the start, which is good to see, because I don't want to see anybody get arrested.
No.
I don't want to see people fall into a deep, dark depression, and I don't want to see people take their life, because male suicide is sky high. And we had a mutual friend. Now, I was friends with Andy, Bomber, ex-military man.
Yeah.
I was friends with him. He sent me images of his first suicide attempt. I'd imagine you got the same pictures of the banister and the rope, and it didn't take his weight. And I wasn't sure if it was a cry out for help, so I'm back and forth with him. I'm saying, let's meet, come, He started jogging when he was deployed to Afghan, doing his private security. And he said something to me that struck a chord. And I'm hoping that this will resonate with some people, because you need to listen to your friends. And if they're not saying much, listen closer. Watch what they're doing. Look them in the eyes. Get a feel for their emotions and what they're going through. Like, you can always, it's a bit like with a comedian. When the jokes stop, the sadness appears. And we're all human beings. And he said something that will stay with me forever. And then I'm going to pass it over to you, because he was a friend of mine, but you and him are like brothers. So I just want to let you know that I knew a lot about Bomber behind the scenes, and I was in touch with him. He sent me that picture. I got sent all the pictures of the pills that he took, that assisted him in doing himself in the end. But he used this word when he said that he didn't take his weight. He said, Liam, it was so perfect. It just didn't take my weight. And that word in there made me take him very seriously. That's not a cry for help. He meant that. And then when I found out that he took his life, I was in Spain. I was with Tommy. And at the same time, his mum was contacting us. Everyone was, his girlfriend. We didn't know what had happened, if it was true, if it wasn't true. But it was true, and we've lost him. And this is a very, very good friend of yours. You've been on holiday with him. You would consider him a brother. I know how tight you two were. And so I'm now thinking, you've lost 3 important people in your life to suicide, Bomber being the final one. However you want to get that off your chest, dissect it, make sense of it, pay tribute to him, say whatever you need to say.
When Bomber came into my life, he was just a happy-go-lucky, massive beast. That's all I can describe him as.
One tough man.
One of the toughest men I've ever met in my life. But for the right reasons. He would never bully anyone. He would never do anything to hurt anyone. He was always the protector. This is a guy that sat in a house in Telford by his Todd. A victim in Telford had been threatened, and she had to leave the house that she was living in. And Tommy made the call, and some people came, some people didn't. And he stayed there. And when others left, he stayed on his own. And I remember him sending me a picture of him sat at the front door with a baseball bat going, it's going to be a long night. And all the windows have gone through. So Bomber, for me, was a bit of a father figure more than a friend. I would, like Kev Carroll was, I used to have long, deep conversations with Bomber about my life. And he would always give me the advice that I felt maybe a father, my dad would have potentially given me if I was on the right side of it. So leading up to what happened, he was just lost. He was an addict. Unfortunately, his addiction took hold of him, and like it has done for many people in life. And he tried his hardest to come out of it. He asked for help from everyone. And we got to a point where we knew he was going back to Iraq, and I was speaking daily with his girlfriend and him, trying, where is he? He's upstairs, shut the door, not talking to anyone. Okay, right, get him out. Right, Bomb, what's going on? I just need to get on that plane, Danny. He needs to get on that plane. Okay, we're going to get you on the plane. We'll get you on the plane. I'm not going. Next day, I'm not going. Oh, I'm going. So there was a lot going on in his mind. And this guy had been through it. I mean, he'd been to war. You know, he was close protection. He was a dog handler. This guy was one mean motherfucker. So mean.
He was a man mountain also.
Yeah. He was
bare
a big
knuckle fighter.
Oh, bare knuckle fight. Yeah, champion. Bare knuckle. I mean, he used to just, for the fun of it, just turn up at Travellers site and just go, who's your best man then? And then he just to beat him up and leave.
And he would donate all of his personal charity.
Yeah. It was never about the money. So leading up to that, he was in the house. He was going through it. I said, maybe it's not a good idea that he goes. She said, look, I think it's the only option because he'll run otherwise. So we got him on the plane. He was on the plane, and as soon as he landed, he started to send pictures. He was doing okay, and then it's night. It's at the night time. It was the fucking demons, man. And I just wish I could have got to him. I was talking to him all night. I said, "Bomb, please, bro, fucking please, don't do this to me." He's like, "Oh, damn, I gotta go, mate." I said, "Bomb, you ain't gotta go nowhere, man. I'm coming." So we tried to contact people, and we just couldn't get through. Just couldn't get through. And even people, security lads. And then he just sent me pictures, and then I knew that something wasn't right. The mental health had kicked in. It's like, you know, to be in that state, to do that to yourself, you've got to be going through an episode psychosis. And he just said goodbye to me, and he wouldn't answer the phone. And then Tommy just cried on the phone when I found out. Tommy was heartbroken, man. Tommy and me, we just, I couldn't do anything. I just remember driving in my car, sitting in the woods, just to get away from the house because of the kids. I didn't want the kids to know. Just sitting there, man, and just thinking, why does this keep happening? Why does everyone keep going? So I don't have relationships with people. I've made it. I am my own man, and I've given up because I feel like everyone's dying. So when I look at it, the country, and I see what's coming, Liam, I see it.
So do I.
I fucking see what's happening, and I see what's coming, and I see the victims that are going to come from this. The women, the children that are going to die, that are going to get raped because this fucking government just doesn't give a fuck. They don't care enough, and they will never. We haven't got time for a political solution, even though that's what's needed. We've got 3-4 years. 3-4 years from now, my daughter could be dead. 3-4 years now, someone you know could be dead. So, yeah, Bomber was an inspiration to me, and I will never forget the time that we had. We went on holiday together. We had some crazy times, and I just want to, say that I love him like a brother, and God rest his soul. So, good lad.
He was due on. Luckily, I know his story, but it would have been nice to share it with the world because he was a solid trooper. And the thing as well, people need to remember is, like, someone's state of mind can change really quick. Yeah. 2-3 days before that, he sent me videos of him running. Yeah. I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to start fasting in the morning.
Yeah, we had a plan. I said, you have to write this down, Bomber. Let's write it down together. And we used to write it down on WhatsApp. We just, right, you're going to go for breakfast, you're going to go for a run, you're going to do this. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Right, I'm feeling better. And he tried to get help. He tried to get counselling, and It just wasn't the right person, I don't think. And being in Iraq, being around that, I think the psychosis came from the drugs, the come down. Mm-hmm. Obviously, before he left England, he'd been on a very heavy bender, 3, 4, 5 days, and then got on a plane and then sat in a room on his own.
That gives me the horrors just
with
thinking.
Nothing, no alcohol, not being able to have a little, quick, like, let's have a quick drink just to maybe chill. Think you can't drink over there. So but what he did for Tommy, I need to say this, what he did for Tommy, he followed Tommy everywhere because Tommy wanted him there. And he made Tommy safe. And a lot of things that have happened to Tommy, especially like the train station stuff and all that, those things never happened when Bomber was around. Because you wouldn't approach Tommy when you saw this mountain of a man. You'd just be like, maybe today's not the day to call Tommy whatever. So, it was a shame because I know how much of a benefit he was to the cause, to his family, and to Tommy. So, a missed man.
Yeah, I agree. It'd be interesting to see.
God, you're getting me today, Liam, I tell you. I don't think I've been like this for a long time. So, yeah.
Well, when I saw you make them videos, I thought this is a man that needs a conversation. And I'm going to mention to people watching and listening, when we bring it back to, are we doing it for clout or the right reason? I asked you to come on, not for gratuitous content. I asked you to come on. I felt you needed to come on, and I felt people needed to get a better understanding of you, because all I'm seeing on social media is you really angry, upset, and deeply concerned. So I wanted some misconceptions to be made clear. I wanted to get a better understanding, and I wanted you to, I don't know, maybe calm down a little bit so that you can be on the outside for your children. So I think today's been very productive, and I'm glad you've trusted me with all of this, because it's a big thing for a man to open up. And you've shut yourself off because you don't want to get hurt no more. No. I can relate to that completely.
That's why I said, when the first conversation I did.
Sorry, So I asked you to come on, and you said no.
Yeah.
You said, I don't want to come on because I'm not doing it for the fame.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, well, the door's open if you reconsider. Yeah. You thought about it, and it wasn't till the day after
My
you
mum,
said...
to be fair.
Your mum, okay. So there you go. So
she said, I think you need to talk.
You refused to come on because you didn't want to do it for the fame, and then you agreed to come on. Yeah. So that's important that that's clered up. Yeah. But this is what you do comes from the heart, not from the ego.
Amen. I mean, don't get me wrong. You know what I'm like. I love going out and do, the way we are with the boys. I mean, I love it. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty, Liam, we can't fuck about it.
It's time to get serious.
It's time to get serious. And 99.9% of what I'm doing at the moment is getting serious and making people understand that the time is now or it never.
How would you want people to remember Danny Tommo?
Just someone that stood up, someone that, my dad, when the things happened with Tommy and we did the events, he just said, I feel like you're someone that would have probably stormed the beaches. He said, I feel like you're the kind of man that would have done that. And when he saw me at Speaker's Corner, I'd never back down to anyone. I'd never back down to anything. He said, that's what your granddad's father, your heart would have been. So to look at me to say he's just someone that did what he could with the voice that he had to bring hope, and to, when it gets serious, to people to understand that things need to be done. And I hope, some of the stuff that I've done will be a legacy for just bringing people together, like at the events, because that's originally what I was doing. I wasn't really talking. I wasn't really out there. All I was doing was getting people to come to the events, and I'm hoping hoping they just see it as he's turned himself around. He used to be a bit of an idiot. Now he's not, hopefully, and I hope my children are proud of me just for sticking up for them and doing this for the right reasons. So.
Well, before I ask you the final question, I'm going to put Danny's social media links in our description. As I always ask you, please like and subscribe to the channel, because you're not going to get raw, honest conversations like this on the mainstream. And the current state that the UK is in, and I know that we have audiences from Europe and the USA, I think the West is in a similar state. Please be vigilant. Please be mindful that we are in danger. Don't think this is one big conspiracy channel. It's not. If you're walking your dog or going for a jog, take your earphones out. We're not safe to do that anymore. When you're sat on a train, just have your wits about you. It's a shame we've got to do this, but I'm morally obligated to give some kind of sound advice based on the information I receive and the evidence that I see with my own eyes. We're not living in a safe place at the moment, so look after yourselves, please. And you can follow Danny on the social links that I put into the description. So the final question really is it's down to you. It's, what was your final message to the masses be?
Thank you for being awake. I feel people are awake now, and my message would be is that you cannot sit behind your screens sit in your houses comfortably and think that everything will be okay. We are in a very, very dangerous state of affair in this country. And I would ask all of you to understand that when it comes to it, it may have to be the English lads that need to stand up and make a stand for this to get better. But not in a way that's going to get anyone put in prison, but something needs to give. And that's coming from my heart. I see the vision, and I hope you'll be with me when it comes to it. That's it.
That was a hell of a conversation, and I hope people see beyond the media tabloids and see right into your soul. And I enjoyed that, and I feel like I've got something out of that as well. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for trusting me. All the luck for the future. Our paths will obviously cross, and stay safe, brother.
Thank you, bro.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, mate.